Asma, Timor, if you want, it's 5 past now. So like, if you want to start introducing yourselves, that'd be great.
Timor, you want to go first? Okay. Oh, okay. Well, okay, I can begin with. So my name is Asma Claquin-Rharmaoui. I'm living in Germany for almost 10 years now. So time is just flying by. And I'm representative for the French left, La France Insoumise, in Central Europe and how do you say, Eastern Europe. Yeah, so I'm from France, but also from Morocco, so half-half. And I'm really focusing on topics on intersectionality and anti-racism. So we have a lot to discuss when you look on the German side of history. But thank you so much for the invitation. And
yeah. Timor, do you want to go?
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me. I'm Timor. I'm in a British group. I'm German, but I don't live in Germany. I'm in a British group called RS21, Revolutionary Socialism in the 21st Century. That really has nothing to do with Germany. So I think I'm here in the capacity of a former member of Die Linke, because I was a quite active member when I was still living in Germany. And also afterwards through like, transnational networks within the party. And I was someone who really, like one of the further left parts of the left, of Die Linke, who remained in the party when everybody already thought it was dying. And then I left just a few months before the election over the expulsion of a Palestinian activist. And I still think it's the right decision, although in hindsight it does look a little bit funny, given the electoral success of the party now. But yeah, so I think I'm here in the capacity of a former member rather than an RS21 representative.
And maybe Timor, do you want to say a little bit about RS21? Like, does he have branches outside the UK or? And
okay. No, RS21 doesn't have branches outside of Britain. We are active in Scotland and England and Wales. And we have branches here all over the country, in Glasgow, Edinburgh, several branches in London. Yeah, we're an ecosocialist, feminist, and anti-imperialist organization that tries to figure out how a revolutionary socialism of the 21st century would look like.
Okay, nice. Okay, I'll introduce the media now. So it's called ToTheLeft. So basically, the idea of ToTheLeft is to have discussions between leftists, like on an international level, to see like what's working, what's not working, how can we organize a sort of counter-revolution against the surge of the far right at the minute. And so, for example, today is a prime example. Although I'm based in the UK, I'm very involved with France Insoumise, for example. So we try to see like what are the different approaches, what's working, what's not, and questions such as like how do we mobilize in the countryside, and which is common for every lefty, whether you lived in the US or in the UK or in Europe. So yeah, that's basically the point of ToTheLeft. So now let's crack on with the questions. Oh yeah, just one thing, because I can't see the chat. Timor, Asma, if one of you is speaking, if the other one could like tell if you've got any question, you can pick on from the chat that you think are like relevant. I'll try to solve this during the stream, but at the minute I'm still not able to see the chat for some reason. So yeah, let's crack on with the questions. So I would say, as a sort of like introduction, maybe you could explain like the sort of general German context, like if we have people listening that don't know much about Germany, like, so for example, I know that Germany economy is a lot about like selling cars, exporting cars to the US, and I understand this has been highly compromised because of the cutting of the energy, the gas supply from Russia. So I know also the population is aging. So maybe could you give like a sort of like very brief introduction to what's happening in Germany on like the sort of broad economic level at the minute? Any one of you can start first, and the other one can maybe jump in when that feels right.
Should we just always have you start first, Asma, and then me, or like otherwise I feel like it gets confusing? But if you want, I can go first. I'm not sure if I can give the best overview of German economics at the moment.
You can go first, yeah, and then I can add something.
Well, I think Germany is the sick man of Europe once again, apparently, after a long, like 15 years of relative economic success. If I'm not completely wrong, it was the hardest hit by inflation in Europe of the bigger European economies, as well as had the biggest, or some of the biggest decrease, or like actually shrinking economy, while other economies were already recovering. Much of this is related to what you just said, that the still existing German manufacturing, car manufacturing specifically, but also chemical plants like BASF in southwestern Germany, biggest chemical plant in the world, they're all extremely dependent on Russian gas, and have like one of the reasons why they could still be internationally competitive, despite being in a high wage country, is because of the low cost of their resources. And yeah, obviously, since the war in Ukraine, all of this has changed. These industries have been struggling a lot. They've also been struggling with modernization, apparently. That's not something I know that much about. But it simply seems that they have also internally missed their chance of transforming more towards like electric vehicles, and are now being overtaken by international competitors. And the thing is, much of Germany's economic success was these like somewhat medium-sized companies, like companies that you wouldn't find in like the stock market, but have like a few hundred, maybe in the low thousands, like a number of employees in the low thousands or a few hundreds that have also been really reliant on cheap resources. And many of the jobs in these industries have been very well paid. We have very conservative but very strong unions in Germany. They, instead of open conflict, they prefer some form of cooperation with the employer in many cases, call them Sozialpartnerschaft. But they have been able to guarantee, especially in these, it's called the Mittelstand, in these middle-sized companies, they have been able to guarantee really high wages in comparison. And these people have been seeing their jobs go, right, which is often seen as one of the explanations for both Sarah Wagenknecht's new party, BSW, and the success of the AfD. Yeah, I think that's a bit of a broad overview.
Okay, so maybe Asma, I was going to show the election results, but if you want to say anything before that, go on.
Yeah, actually, it's a good point as a transition for the election results. I mean, like we kind of forgot that less than 35 years ago we had two Germanys. So it's also a big point to keep in mind when we look at the results, and to see also the political shift from the SED, like the Sozialistische Einheitspartei Deutschlands, to AfD. It's like literally the same region that came like after the Germany became one country, and it has a lot to do with the way Western Germany treats also East Germany. Even yet, there is also a huge discrepancy between in salaries, but also in the society of Eastern Germany. And one point I wanted also to add is we saw it in France because we had this retirement reform 2023. We took the street again, and we looked at the numbers in Germany, like on the proportions of people, of retired people, of pensioner poverty in comparison to France. And we saw that 20% of the retired people in Germany lived under the poverty line, and in France it's just 2%. So we saw also a huge gap on the different strategies Germany and France are going when it comes to pensioner poverty. And I mean, they try to solve this case with this 2015 sentence from Angela Merkel, "Wir schaffen das," so we will manage, by welcoming a lot of refugees for capitalist reasons, first of all, with €1 jobs, for example, so that they can also work in, how do you say, in topics or in sectors where we really need people, for example, in hospitals, but also in retirement businesses and so on. So there's a lot of going on now in Germany, and I don't think it will be solved by the next government. When you look at the priorities they set with migration, but also with renewables, energy going to be less and less supported. So yeah, big topics.
Okay, so I'm gonna show like a quick overview of the results. So we can see, so that's the map. So you can see here, for those who don't know, there's a big split. That was like the eastern part of Germany before the wall, and that's where the AfD, so the far right party, just here is making its bigger gains. The black is the CDU-CSU, so that's the party who won, and that's the party of Merge, who is basically like in the UK, that'd be conservative, and although, you know, like the closest equivalent, and in France that'd be Les Républicains. And then you have some sort of like very small gains, like SPD lost a lot, so that's the sort of like center left, SOS-Dem type of party. You've got the Greens in some cities, but also in the countryside as well. The left, so that's Die Linke, so that's what we're gonna focus on today. You've got BSW, so that's the how do you call them? National Socialist? I don't know.
I don't see anything socialist in their program, so
yeah, they're like they were, so that's a split from the left, but they actually have like a lot of racist view, like they're quite focused on immigration, and that FDP is basically like liberal, like center kind of party, who broke up the coalition because they didn't want to break the golden rule of the 3% of debt. Is that correct? Yeah, that's it. Broke the coalition, which led to this election. So if you want to see, the results in terms of seats, so that's there. So today I wanted to have a bit of a focus on Die Linke, because surprisingly they made some gains of like a few percent compared to the last election. So I'll come back to my questions now. So yes, so let's discuss first, guys. One of my first question would be, do you think that Die Linke, now that it's got now that it reached almost 9%, I'm hearing that it's open to doing some coalition, but I'm hearing that the SPD said he would never do a coalition with them. So I'm not too sure, like in France now, for example, we've got the Front Populaire, so we've got like a coalition which Asma is part of, for example. So in Germany, do you think the same thing is going to happen, or Asma or Timor, whichever is wants to go first?
Should I go first, or?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. I don't think we would ever see this business, this alliance on federal level ever. I mean, like, I live in Berlin. We had this couple of years, this red-green coalition, and even though they were kind of a Nouveau Front Populaire in Berlin, they still privatized a lot of flats, and they did a lot of they betrayed a lot of people by doing so, and that's led to the CDU becoming more and more strong, stronger. Don't think it will ever happen. Important to say that, because if you look at the of the Green in the beginning, they created as a party against war, and now they're literally bombing Gaza with our money. So I think it's really important to see also the development of how the Green Party became actually just some kind of city. I would not say CDU, but kind of middle party with some green on it. But it's my personal view, and I think SPD is more Macron compatible than Parti Socialist on our side, and it has also a lot of things to do with the history of the left in Germany and the history of Die Linke. When you look at the demography in Die Linke, you see a lot of old white men, because it came also from the SED, what I was talking about before, and they try now to change that, but it's still a long way. And if you look at the program and at all the things or the measures, it's still class first thoughts, I would say. It's they become to be a bit aware of Turkish people and Arabs, and it's bad to kill Arabs, but Israel is our big cooperation partner, so we cannot say anything against them. So I think it's also delusional to think about the Nouveau Front Populaire in Germany, even though I would urge for that, because we have the AfD and the CDU, which was willing to do a cooperation in January on the migration bill. So it's also really important to say that, so that our kind of Brandmauer, like this Front Républicain, I don't know the word in English, I don't know if you have it, but it's kind of
like a Republican tradition.
Yeah, so to never collaborate with the far right. It just fall in Germany since January, and so to answer your question, I don't know if it will ever happen with the Nouveau Front Populaire in Germany, but I see a lot of hopes also coming from the young Greens that came to Die Linke to try also to change something. And I'm from Berlin-Neukölln, so I supported also Ferhat Kocak from Die Linke, and I know a lot of people supported also.
Sorry, can you just translate like the words you just said? Or
I'm from a certain neighborhood of Berlin with a really amazing guy named Ferhat Kocak. It was not German; it was just the name of the guy.
Okay, sorry.
And sorry, and it will be my last point on it. And I think a lot of people also didn't join Die Linke because of the position on international field and Palestine. And a lot of young people supported specific candidates. Like, I'm not part of Die Linke. I will not be part of it because of my differences with this party. But I want to see more Palestine voices bringing to Bundestag, so to our National Assembly. And that's why I was active in the campaign. So I think it's also a huge part of people that are not in any party, but just want to change something by supporting specific people. Yeah. So sorry for the long speech. Timor.
Sorry, Timor. Before you jump in, if I want to sum up what you said, Asma, you're saying that there's so, for example, compared to France, the Greens and are much more like centrist than the French left. So I guess the French Greens are already like quite center. Like they've got factions, but they've I would say like one half of they have the Congress soon as well. So we're going to see who wins, but that's another question.
And perhaps just on this, when you look at the European Parliament, the French Green and the French Socialist and the French France Insoumise has much more in common. They vote almost the same, and they vote more on the same level than they do within the fraction. So it's really interesting to see that. And one point also from the chat, Rot-Rot-Grün as a red-green would not have the majority in the parliament anyway. So it's, that's why.
Okay. And I understand then that the Greens in Britain, they're much more, because there's no like radical left party in the UK. There's only like Labour Party. I think the Greens maybe took that role of like being also a party that's a bit more radical, but without the populist aspect maybe. But okay, so that's why I understand from what you just said. Maybe guys, like before Timor, before you jump in, can you guys contextualize the importance and the tradition of coalition in Germany? So I've read that actually the German constitution after the Second World War was designed with the US so that there wouldn't be a sort of like great persona figure, great Caesarian type of figure, but it would mostly be coalition. Like, is that correct? Or
yeah, as far as I'm aware, we've always had, and maybe the first. No, I think even the first government was a coalition. It's a multi-party system, right? It's not a presidential system either, so it's not like France or the US. The parliament has much more weight, I would say, in Germany than in other forms of democracies. And yeah, this is why we've almost always had coalitions, and increasingly these coalitions they now have the tendency to become bigger. We always had coalitions between two parties historically. That was in the first couple of decades, it was either the CDU with the FDP being the neoliberals, that back then were center, sometimes even center left, but then later became more center right. Now the neoliberals in Germany are not comparable to like the centrist liberals in most other European countries. So I would say they're much more right wing. And then the SPD would take over for a few years, so the Social Democrats, and all govern with the FDP as well, until the Greens came in, and then the far left, the SED, became the PDS. Like, sorry, so many little abbreviations, but the after reunification, we had a new party for democratic socialism that then later merged into Die Linke. And now it's the AfD, the far right joined, and the BSV became a significant player as well, although they're outside of parliament now. So we went from a multi-party system that was mainly made up of three parties that could govern to a multi-party system where increasingly more parties can govern. It's a little bit like, if anyone is aware of how the Netherlands have been going, like they have coalitions that are becoming bigger and bigger and bigger as well. And I think the last government between the Social Democrats, the Greens, and the neoliberals, the Freie Demokraten, was the first time we had a federal government made up of three parties, a government coalition made up of three parties. Now it seems like we've returned to normality shortly, in the sense that the two big parties, the Social Democrats and the Conservatives, are forming a coalition. But it seems to be a tendency towards multi-party coalition. Okay, sorry, that was really long. But I agree with Asma that like it's never been on the table that there's a red-red-green coalition that includes Die Linke. Right? When it was on the table 5 years ago, because the Social Democrats and the Greens were so strong that they could have potentially entered a coalition with Die Linke, they started doing a campaign against Die Linke because they saw it as a threat to their actual government if they had to form a coalition with Die Linke. Like, I always think that the reason for that is that probably had they been in a coalition with Die Linke, the Social Democrats and the Greens would have actually have to do what they say in their programs, which is why they really wanted to prevent that from happening and instead form a government, a defunct, like a completely broken government with the neoliberals. Yeah, I think it was never on the table, and now there's going to be a große Koalition, a GroKo, between the Social Democrats and the Conservatives.
So gross coalition is like big coalition, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, like big, but the SPD, I think it's the worst result since 1933, like since the beginning of the party. So, I mean, it will be a huge coalition, but the CDU is already a coalition with CDU from the south of Germany, which is much more conservative than the rest of the CDU, which is already really conservative. But I think it will, like, the SPD will have left, like, not so much weight on the table than the CDU-CSU, because they did just, I don't know, 30%, I think, when I remember right, and the CDU-CSU made almost 30%. They wanted to make 40%, but they didn't. And I think when you look at the topics and at this paper, this coalition paper that it's around the political sphere now, there is so many stuff from migration that they just took from the AfD program, and Alice Weidel was really happy about that, and that's why I don't know, like, if we can really name them Republican, like if this word has still a meaning, I don't know, but I don't think we will see a GroKo like under Merkel, because Merkel was more on the left side of the CDU, if I can say. Yeah.
Okay, so if I want to sum up what you guys just said, it's going to be, if a coalition needs to be, it's going to be quite difficult because there's some sort of like core disagreements on anti-racism, on geopolitics, between Die Linke and other like center-left party in Germany, correct?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
No, I was asking basically, like, if there's gonna be a coalition in Germany in the next year, that's gonna be really difficult because there's such disagreement in terms of like, I'm already hearing basically that Die Linke is not left enough when it comes to like foreign policy. So I'm imagining you know, the disagreement between Die Linke and like the Greens or the SPD, like it would be really difficult because there's such disagreements on such issues.
I mean, it's also not possible. It's electorally not possible. They didn't get enough vote for coalition, unless you mean whether they would enter some kind of electoral alliance in the sense of like a popular front or something like this. Yeah. But that is I don't see that coming at all.
Or do you mean if the Große Koalition, for example, pull a bill in the National Assembly, if the left and the Green could be like a critical mass to not make it happen? Or perhaps I understand it bad, but
that's why I'm asking, like, if there's if there's any sort of like, I was just trying to sum up what you guys said, and basically what I understand is that it would be too hard to do a coalition, and if there's possibility, like, it would be incredibly difficult, basically because of the disagreements.
But also because of the seats in the first place. Yeah. But yeah, the disagreement, I mean, I agree with Timor. And I think the problem will be to make, like, to trying to pass law in this parliament, because it will be like, it's, I mean, 40, like, yeah, the majority is fascist or neo-fascist with the AfD and the CDU from Merz. I think it's really important also to straight it out, because they had like those kind of campaign on LinkedIn, for example, where it was written, it's like the AfD, but you choose it democracy. You choose democracy, like kind of it's a democratic alternative to AfD, and so they are not hidden anymore. I think it's really important to make it to make a difference between the era of Merkel, which was still really liberal and really right, like on the not far right, but on the right spectrum, and the era of Merz, who is not even hiding his cooperation with the AfD. And now I'm really wondering what kind of bills they will put into the National Assembly to get voted, because I'm working on the transition, like the ecological transition and like all the renewable stuff. And when I'm looking at this sector, I know I don't know what we will do in the next 4 to 5 years. So I don't know, Timor, if you have some hopes, but I think it will be really difficult because we'll have this critical mass of CDU and AfD, even though they're not building a coalition. The AfD will also put pressure on the CDU so that the Große Koalition will not be too left, even though it's not left for us, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it will be I might make a risky statement here, but I think it will be a very stable coalition. It will not be a good coalition for the left, but I think it will be very stable in the sense that currently it is like the SPD has shifted rightwards in the last couple of years. I mean, in the last campaign, they had a slight, in the last election, they had a slight leftward shift and adopted some like left populist slogans that they then immediately abandoned after the election. But yeah, they shifted rightwards and also, like the CDU, adopted AfD policies into their program, right? And they said something similar. They I think I have heard, like, there were similar, like, there were also SPD politicians saying, well, if you really want deportation, vote for us because we'll get it done, you know, not like the AfD, they're just talking, right? So, and this is the Social Democrats, and you have that in similar, like, they were talking about an offensive, or like an Abschiebeoffensive, like a great offensive of deportations, basically. Yeah, the biggest deportation wave that Germany has ever seen. And even if you look at like they're already in talks, and they a few days, I don't think it was yesterday, they published their Sondierungspapier, which is the outcomes of the first conversations they had, and they're talking about breaking the debt brake, abolishing the debt brake, which technically is something that the left has been demanding for as long as the debt brake existed, because it has always been economic and social suicide. But the reason why is to militarize, right? To increase, like, they want to spend 500 billion more on most of this would go towards the German military, right? Now that we see the multipolar world emerging and all of those things.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about like military like in a sec, but I just wanted to come back to Die Linke. So just so people understand like a bit more about Die Linke, like are there some factions without Die Linke, or is it sort of I know there was a split with the BSW and Sarah Wagenknecht, but do you think there's still factions within Die Linke, or do you think now they have a sort of more united idea of like where they should go?
I actually asked some friends who are still in Die Linke before to explain this, because Die Linke always used to be a platform, right? It was never a real party in the sense that other, left-wing parties around Europe. So it was basically a space for many different Strömungen, we call them streams, to converge and struggle for the dominant leadership of the party. But because the party had been in a process of disintegration in the last couple of years. Many of these people have left, right? We saw, for example, the Marx 21, quite important network in Die Linke, far left network in Die Linke, split in 3 different groups. The influence of the IS tradition, like the Socialist Workers' Party in Britain, also left the party. Basically, they had MPs and everything. And with the BSV split, also some of the older Stalinists that kind of turned conservative social democrats also left the party. So, but now we see at the same time this big flow of like 30,000 new members entering the party at the same time with this like electoral hype. So all of these parties, all of these factions are now reforming and trying to win the new members for them. And I think the relevant ones to keep in mind are the so-called the Progressive Netzwerk, the Progressive Network, which is probably the most conservative part of Die Linke. It's a re-foundation of an older conservative program. They tend to be like moderate social democrats that are also Zionist. And that it used to be around, you know, they used to form around the Die Linke governments in Berlin and Thüringen, etc. And on the other hand, the Bewegungslinke, so-called the movement left, which itself is made up of different Trotskyist and far left groups, but also union-based groups that are, I'm quite sure that Ferhat Köcak, who you mentioned, is close to Marx 21 and also to Bewegungslinke. So that is now the left part of the left, but they are, they don't have a coherent political program yet. But it's still very arbitrary. I believe that most new members will be pulled towards the movement left, the Bewegungslinke, but they have to really get a grip and like start building their political program. And I think they really have to be firm on it and not compromise too much with the right part of the party, because that is like, I really believe that the politics of compromise was partly what has led to the demise of Die Linke in the last 10 years.
Okay.
I think Ferhat just won because the party was was convinced that it will never win this Wahlkreis. I don't know, this circumscription. This how to say in English? They have been long.
Constituency, yeah.
Consistency, yeah, and that's the only reason why he won, actually, because a lot of people were really shocked that he was chosen, and then decided also to do Haus zur Aktion, like to go door by doors, and every 5th doors in Germany during the campaign has been knocked in Neukölln, in the neighborhood of Ferhat Köcak. So I think it was also a huge step for the Bewegungslinke to show from the other Linke that it's possible to be anti-racist and to win, and that's even the reason why people are voting for you. And just wanted to add something on this point, because I think it's also the result of Die Linke at the European elections in June. It was, I think, 2% or something like this. And it has a lot to do, I think, with the lake within the party of anti-racist movement. Like
the lake, sorry?
The lake of an anti-racist movement within the left. You know what I mean? Like the fact that there wasn't any political statement on, sorry for my English, any political statement on Palestine, for example, even though the German society wanted to have this statement. When you look at the statistic, for example, at that time, I think it was like 50% of the population, of the people that wanted a ceasefire, and Die Linke was really silent about this. So yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot my thoughts, but it was just really important also to say that in the south of Germany, you have already Bodo Ramelow, was it like really right part of Die Linke, and he has been part also of immigration programs, and he also liberalized a lot of things in this Bundesland, like in this state. yeah. So I think it's really not betrayed. She's not betraying the people that voted for this party, and let's see what happens. But I'm not sure about that.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you guys. So if I sum up the conversation so far, this big lack in terms from a leftist perspective, even Die Linke is lacking in some aspects. So we know on Gaza, we know on anti-racism, and they're very like class first, as I understand. So what do you guys think the way forward should be? So for example, in the UK where we're based, there's a lot of talk at the moment about like creating community. So in the countryside, for example, we can talk like urban and then countryside, but if I just want to give an overview, like so in the countryside, there's a lot of talks about like, opening football clubs, opening like community spaces for people to like reconnect and not just have the TV that's your only way of seeing like the outside world. Because the TV by default is like, fascistizing people in a way, if that's even a word. Yeah, so that's for the countryside, and in a more urban type of setting, there's a lot of talks about like tenants union and about like just working union, trying to reinvest that as much as possible to sort of like infuse a left culture within the country. I know that they're trying to make that happen in France as well, but it's a very different story in France. Like, how do you guys see this happening in Germany, for example?
I think I mean I can't speak too much to concrete things about this, but I know that the Die Linke has really, like, they haven't explicitly done it, but with the new party leader Ines Schwertner, especially, who used to be editor-in-chief, I think, of Jacobin Germany. So it's really become the Die Linke. She has turned the Die Linke a little bit into the Jacobin party, right? The magazine, the US magazine, Jacobin. And so she's like a real like left democratic socialist, not revolutionary, but also not social democrat, right? Who I think is copying a lot from the Austrian Communist Party and from the Belgian Workers' Party, right? Who have these strategies of really embedding the party into society, being like being perceived as like a caring party, right? That really, as Asma said, knocks at your door, asks what's wrong, and then maybe even helps you out. So like the party leaders are now all limiting their salary and donating the rest of it into a social fund that is then used for social projects, which is what the Communist Party of Austria has been doing and has been part of their success for a long time. And I think that is kind of what I just wanted to say. Asma, maybe you can add something to more concrete projects about what's going on.
Yeah, I think the first big project is to have the street taking, that the street takes the Bundestag, and it begins to happen with my deputy, with Ferhat Kocak, because you will, like, this is the first time you see someone really from the civil society, and from he stands also for Kurdish people, and Kurdish people. Yeah, okay, thank you. And I think it's one challenge the Die Linke is trying to tackle, is to be representative, is to be, okay, we have a society that is changing and we need this society to take part of the democracy. And so we need this civil society in the Bundestag. And I have enough to see lawyers and professor or doctor title, or I don't know, in the Bundestag. I think we need also normal people. I mean, lawyers are normal people, but I think there overrepresented in this assembly. And I think it's one big point, and that's why also La France Insoumise is so strong, because we had a lot of people from the civil society, people with difficult jobs that are being elected and also fighting for hospitals for women and so on. So that's why I think it's a big key to success. And two other points is one, to make the people feel that the politic do something for you. And so we had, as Timor already said, this cut in the salary, but also the heat compensation campaign. When we went doors by doors, we also explained to the people that Die Linke helped the people getting money back from the landlord, because the heat costs are so expensive in Germany because of the energy transition is not that's happening so fast, and also the landlord just want to be richer and richer. So we gave them kind of a contact to write to if they want to have this heat compensation and to be part of the heat compensation campaign, and they can have up to 20% of compensation. So the people joins also through such campaigns that makes the life right now a bit better. And you have also the social hours. So and I think it's Die Linke hilft. It's the name of the campaign, and they do it on a regular basis. I think it's every month, where they do in several languages social support, and actually they do what the the social ministry should do, but they're not doing that. So I think it's a huge step also to help people in different languages, because I think the left, like Die Linke, is also the how do you say that, the only party talking about 40% of the population in Germany that still cannot vote, even though they are living in Germany, they're born there. And for example, there are like the grandparents who were from Turkey, and Turkey, and they cannot have the two nationalities, so they have to choose, and so they cannot vote here. And I will talk again about Ferhat, but he is also one of the people who say, okay, I will really try in the Bundestag to put a bill which address this problematic of 40% of the population that cannot vote. So it's kind of also democratic issues.
So what I understand is, and I think that's sort of broadly speaking, I think that's something that's coming back in the left around the world, is like we need people that are less like politician, that have less of a politician background, and as you said, like more of a civil society. Like, so there's an example actually in France of that. I think a good example was Rachel Keke. She was she unionized workers who were cleaning in hotels, and like they didn't let go, and they kept the struggle going, and they got a lot of, at the beginning not so much, but I think the strike was going on for so long that they started to get like a bit of traction from the media. And I think it was amazing. Like there's a famous speech she's given in the French Parliament where she was like, you know, who in this parliament ever got the minimum salary for a month? Who got a bit more than minimum salary, the living wage in this parliament? And she was like, you see, that's why people are not listening to you. That's why there's so much abstention. That's because a lot of you are not representing the people. And yeah, we can see popping up. We can see popping up a bit everywhere. I think some policy about this, like that. For example, there's some party in the Front Populaire that came up with this policy that 40% of people of MPs within one group should have should come from like different class background as well, and not have been like prior politician before actually coming to parliament, which is quite interesting. Okay, sorry, Timor, you wanted to say something about this, or you had your turn already? I can't remember. Yeah, you talk first, right?
Yes. Whatever you just mentioned, I do believe that Ines Schwert, the party leader, one of the party leaders, really wants to do things like this. That's kind of like how I categorize her political lines. I'm not sure if the party is ready for that, but I believe that the movement left, die Bewegungslinke, this left faction could maybe potentially successfully push for something like this, but it's all up in the stars.
Okay. And do you guys know anything about like tenants union? Do you think that's like a good way of politicizing people? So I know, for example, in the UK, like the London Renters Union, which is based in Sale Building, I mean, right now, like they do good work, like preventing evictions, for example, or just trying to inform people of like what rights do tenants have. And they have weekly meetings where I went to the meeting the other day, and it was super interesting to see because it's not like an admin service where you just maybe write an email and you get a phone call back. Like it's also, you can go to the actual meeting that's running weekly, and you can get help for your case. And the whole group, including people who are like including the victims and including like the LIU staff and the LIU volunteers. So it's a whole group, and there's actually like 1 or 2 full-time staff there, and the rest of them is just people who have housing issue and the volunteers, and then cases are discussed one by one like that. And so you really, I think it's such a nice politicization tool, because everyone is like helping each other, and you really create connection in a way that I think those people maybe they not likely to have talked to each other if it wasn't for this to happen, such event to happen, even though they live in the same neighborhood. So yeah, is there such thing happening in Germany, or?
I can go first.
Okay, you go first, Asma, please.
We have this Meta-Verein. It's kind of an association for for people who are like for renting. I would say for people who are renting a flat. But I don't think it's that political. It's much more than a systemic problem in Germany. It's really difficult to own a flat because you have huge difficulty. Like it's not the same than in France. So you have also a really strong networks of not tenants, but rent people who try to cooperate in this Meta-Verein because there isn't another choice. So you have 80% of the people renting a flat and 20% owning one. And then if you look at Berlin, I was looking at the proportion. I think one enterprise owned 40% of all housing in Berlin, and we tried to do something against that a couple of years ago now with Deutsche Wohnen und Enteignen, and it didn't. Actually, the main principle was to bring the state of Berlin to buy it back, like all the flats that have been capitalized by this one enterprise, and so the state of Berlin could buy them and do social housing in them, and the Senate they were like they were checking also on the constitution if it was okay, because the Senate of Berlin said no, it's not possible, we can't do this because it's not in the constitution. So it went back to the constitution court in Karlsruhe, and the constitution said it's okay, you can do that, because in the constitution it's written like if there is a too much property in the hand of one enterprise, then it can be nationalized. But since then nothing happens, and I mean Berlin, it's ruled between really conservative party CDU and the Mitte SPD, so I don't think it will ever happen. But I think it's a good example of how we can mobilize people for something, and how the political side of it can be delusional. And I think it's really important also to keep on doing that, and to keep on doing communication about that. Like we tried to bring it up and it didn't work, but I think it's not a reason to just give up.
Mm. And what about the countryside? Like, has there been some initiative to sort of infuse the left culture in the countryside? Like, because we could see the map earlier, like it was like all it was mostly CDU in the countryside. So like I'm gonna show the map again.
Yeah, Western Germany like, was more AfD, but yeah.
Yeah, so all yeah, sorry, you're right. In the east, it's like a lot of AfD. In there, it's a lot of like. Has there been some example of constituency where this has not been the case? Like, I'm asking because I know in France there's like, it tends to polarize a lot. Like it tends to for. In the past year, it has changed like this year, but in the past year, I know that France Insoumise strategy was to focus on fighting abstention in constituency where the demography is a bit more favorable to them. And now in the new assembly, they decided like they're gonna like try to implement themselves locally as well. They were trying this before, but you know, in terms, if we have to actually like see the detail of the priority, it seemed like it wasn't as much of a priority. So is it the same in Germany? Like, do you have example of, you know, countryside bits where the left has made gains, or is it a sort of more like clear-cut problem that's not really solved and that we still don't know the solution of?
I think what we've seen in Germany is that Germany has caught up with other European countries when it comes to the urban-rural divide now.
When it comes to what, sorry?
To the urban-rural divide, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So for a long time, especially if we look at Die Linke, the vote has been split between the West and the East, right? Historically, they were also quite successful in rural constituencies in the East. And now the split is urban to rural, right? When we see like Die Linke has become much stronger in West German cities. It really, the urban precariat and young people that are voting for them, but I think they're really struggling in rural areas. Like even if you look at this little red dot on the map in the blue sea, that's Leipzig, right? It's one of the biggest cities in the East. And they also, I think they either won or almost won something in the north, in Rostock. So it's a small city, but still it's where a city is influential in the So it's really a big divide. I'm not sure, because I'm not there anymore, I can't speak to any initiatives, but people have been trying that for quite a long time, especially in East Germany, to establish some kind of like, or to at least first fight far-right hegemony in the rural areas and establish some kind of left-wing counter-hegemony there. But I think it had limited success so far.
Thank you. Asma?
I have nothing to add on that. I think that's a good summary.
Okay. And maybe it's a good time to transition to, I think there's a lot of discussion in the UK at the moment about like left populism. And like, of course, this is a word that's sort of like talked a lot about, but maybe people don't always get the sort of like the sort of definition of it. But you know, for example, how can we take something that worked really well in campaigns like the Trump campaign and sort of transfer it on the left side? Do you guys think the such thing, or do you guys think there should be a different type of communication that's maybe a bit more, that's, I wouldn't say aggressive, but that's managing to channel public anger from, you know, people who are victim of poverty or like just of the cost of living of crisis in general, or people who are victim of racism. Is there a way to have a communication strategy, a populist communication strategy that's channeling that anger? Whoever wants to go first.
I mean, the strategy was already one part of the many strategies Die Linke had to win, to be kind of an important actor in the election. They try to focus on proposition. And we tried to do it also during the campaign of the Nouveau Front Populaire. It was the people, they don't want to vote. They don't want anymore to vote against something. They want to vote for something. They want to vote for social houses. And I think that populism is not a bad word for me. It's just like trying to understand how you can try to take the people's problems and to make it into social and ecological decisions for the years to come. So I think Die Linke also wins a lot by convincing people to vote for something. I was still talking about the heating campaign. Timor also talk about the thing with the cap, the Gehalt, how do you say, the salary cut. I think it's a huge signal you send to the people. And during the campaign, a lot of people came to us and say, "Oh, that's great, because politic actually will never do that. Like they will have their Dienstwagen, we say in German, like their car and paid by us." And I think it's a big difference with the strategy of the SPD. The SPD was really focusing on this don't vote AfD strategy. And I think you cannot win elections with that. You can survive, but you cannot win elections. And it's also a big strategy from La France Insoumise is to show, okay, another world is possible. It was literally our slogan in the last elections, and to show the people with us, you will have a better school system. You will have a police that is protecting you and not fighting against people that want social justice. So yeah, I think it's a huge topic, but we really urge to have a positive way to do campaign, because we need also some success. And we went to the Wahl party to the election parties with some people from Berlin Insoumise, so from our group in Berlin, and it was really a good feeling just to see that we can succeed some way. And for left party is quite difficult in this time. So I think it's really important to focus on positive, but not being like naive, but to say also we will help people by just having also good, populist education, to know about politics, to know how to answer when someone from the far right is saying that immigrants took all the jobs or something. So I think it's also really important to educate people and to do it in the positive way, so that they know why they are voting for and not against.
Okay, amazing. Timo, I was going to go to the next question. Did you have anything to add, or?
It depends on what the next question is.
No, I meant before I go to the next question, but I'll just go to the next question. So I think when we're talking about like another world is possible, I think as far as I understand, you know, sometimes if I'm doing canvassing, so door knocking, a lot of people are telling me, or if I discuss with, you know, some members of my family, a lot of them are working class, and a lot of them, they're based in France, and a lot of them, you know, a lot of them don't vote, and they'd be like, I'd be telling them like, yeah, another world is possible, and they'd be like, I'd be like, yeah, let me show you the program and some like the manifesto, and they'd be like, yeah, it's a lot of like spending. You want to do more spending, that's good, but where are you gonna find the money? And then, you know, I think one of the first thing the discussion goes to from there on is like tax evasion. and how to get like some money back, basically. And I think France Insoumise approach to this is that we can fight tax evasion within the EU, with Luxembourg, with Monaco, or even Switzerland, even if they're not in the EU. Like we can do stuff about it, because we're the second biggest like country in Europe, with Germany. So do you have the same sort of approach in Die Linke or in the left in Germany, that Germany is like one of the big piece of Europe, so it can allow itself to actually go against some of the EU rules, but also go against some of the how do you say it's not the world transaction order? No, what is it called? WTO,
World Trade Organization.
Yeah, World Trade Organization. It can go against some of the rules in World Trade Organization, because we're such a big country, and so we could, for example, tax products that come in that are like highly increasing pollution, for example, this sort of thing. Like, and is there the same sort of argument in Germany on the left, or?
No, I don't think.
Okay.
At least I have heard it. Maybe Asma will correct me, but I think spending was discussed differently than about tax. Like, I think tax evasion was not centered in the campaign, as far as I understand. I think it was more of a tax redistribution situation that was mentioned, and I also think tariffs weren't.
That, and also reducing the, I don't know, the Mehrwertsteuer. I don't know the word in English.
Tell me in French.
TVA.
The VAT.
VAT. Okay, so to reduce and or to, I think Die Linke wanted to erase the VAT on food. So I think it's one part, because I think this tax is really unfair, because the poorest you are, the more you're paying these taxes. And just to come back on your point about like this global topic of taxation, I think our, like, from La France Insoumise, Mathilde Panot, our president in the group in the National Assembly, said the money is not magical, it just have to be taken in the right pockets. And if you just look at, like, if you speak with people from the middle, I will say like middle class, and they're speaking about the people from the working class, poorest people, and just saying like they ruin the country and we do so much for them, and but we're paying so much taxes in comparison to the 0.00001% of the rich people in France, and you are not complaining about them. So just stop to complain about people you're so much in common with, and try to find also a common sense to find the money where is it actually. So just to come back on the campaign, I think this thing with the Mehrwertsteuer was a huge topic for the Linke. I heard, but I didn't heard about
so the VAT was a topic.
The VAT,
yeah.
I think there's also, if I can add something, I think there's much the left can attack now, generally. Also, like, coming back to like the tax question, but also the populism question. They in the Sondierungspapier, this coalition negotiations between the SPD, the Social Democrats, and the Conservatives, one institute, like Economic Research Institute, has already calculated what that would mean, what their program would mean for people, and their tax policies would basically mean that the top 1% has a tax decrease effectively of 20,000 euros a year in income tax, while the 90%, the majority of like the 90% that are left, would get a decrease of 400 euros per year, right? So there is a redistribution happening, but it's a redistribution from the bottom to the top when it comes to relative input into the state budget. So I think this is really something that the left can attack if they do it right.
Okay, amazing. We're coming a bit like to the end now, so can you stay next 15 minutes, Asma, or did you need to go? So I can't hear you. You mute. I think
with the sound is better. Yeah, I think 10 minutes will be okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. No problem. That's fine. I think it's good timing. I think we could go like in depth, but not too much as well. So that's pretty good. Let me check what I'm gonna go for next. So. I didn't know if maybe the relationship with Russia. So I've seen something sort of interesting that it seems there's an history of the left being accused to be like pro-Putin in Germany, and I can see, for example, that Schröder, he went to work for Gazprom. He was a former high up in German government, or like BSW is accused as well of being like a sort of like Putin agent as well. Like, is it the same thing for Die Linke, for example, or?
I think Die Linke is not left enough to have this sort of claim, but I mean, they're being accused a bit of anti-Semitism, but I mean, they're still not anti-racist, so I don't think they're facing the same claim we have in France. So it's a good signal to know if you're left enough, if you begin to have such claim. But I don't know, I'm a bit off topic, so yeah.
It's not so much like about anti-racism, it's more about like being pro-Putin or like, you know, like supporting the Putin regime, in fact, this whole thing.
I think the split between the Die Linke and BSW kind of cleaned that image up a little bit. Right? The media attacks against Sarah Wagenknecht really successfully branded her as like someone who's like in Putin's pocket, right? When I think the reality is that she just did these politics on her own behalf. They might have been wrong and misguided, but in some cases, but I don't think that it was because she was an agent. But since the split, I think
just to contextualize. So I was reading that so BSW, Sarah Wagenknecht, she was accused by one German MP in particular of being like a Putin agent. So they sued the BSW. They sued this MP. And the court couldn't find any evidence that the BSW was like a Putin agent. So the conclusion of the court was that nobody should say that BSW is like a Putin agent, or they can't formulate it as such, at least. But yeah, sorry, keep going, Timor.
Yeah. Well, regarding Die Linke, I don't think that they can. At the moment, they're again trying to paint Die Linke as pro-Putin or pro-Russia, because the Die Linke is taking a pacifist-leaning line on the military budget. Right? They say we want demilitarization instead of remilitarization. We don't want a bigger military budget. We want a bigger social and welfare budget. Like all these typical, like not even far left, but social democratic demands are being painted as pro-Russian, pro-Putin, but they're having more difficulties with that now that the former Stalinist wing that has turned nationalist has left and formed the BSW, right, together with some completely different people that have nothing to do with left politics. So yeah, I don't think. I mean, they might become successful again, but a part of the success also electoral success can at least partly be explained by the fact that this time the other parties haven't been able, and media haven't been able, to paint Die Linke as the successor of the GDR dictatorship, right? Which was always, when Die Linke was strong, that was a big image of theirs in media, and yeah, and also many young people just simply don't care about this anymore, or they don't believe it, they don't buy it, and the older people who are in the East now have bigger problems than thinking about what was wrong in 1985 because they're suffering now, right?
Okay. Thank you. Very interesting. And I'm realizing as well, maybe we can do like 2 last questions. So the second one will be just conclusion to like sort of sum up what you guys what you guys think going forward. But the last one would be like, do you think there's going to be things to be done with the union in Germany, and do you think that's going to be a sort of like one of the big piece of what's there to do going forward?
I think they will do a lot of things on the migration topic, but yeah, defining what you mean was a lot of things to be done. I think a lot of wrong thing will be done.
As in with the unions, the working unions.
With the union, okay, because in German the union is the CDU-CSU is called the union. So I was like, okay, yes,
sorry.
We'll do a lot of
sorry, yeah.
Sorry. I mean, the unions, they are really strong in Germany. I don't know if like they're strong, but they're really leaning and depending on compromises also. So I don't know, perhaps Timor, you have more takes on it than me. But
I am not sure. So with regards to the left, again, like French unions, British unions, German unions, completely incomparable. Germany, very conservative. We have like Verdi is now doing some strikes, but they're very conservative, but also very much part of the state, and very big. I think it is important for Die Linke and the broader non-parliamentarian left to become to now fill the gap that is left by the Social Democrats in the unions. Now that the Social Democrats are really disintegrating or in demise, and that like it could be a chance for the left to fill that gap. But that's all I can say about that at the moment.
Okay, and just a quick word for both of you for the end of the stream. Like, if people have to finish this stream with sort of like 2 or 3 ideas that are really key for the German left going forward, what do you think those should be?
I think get political and never give up. I think that's also what the left in Germany told us, like to keep on socialize also into left groups, and to try also to read a lot, to see in German like über den Tellerrand, like to be interested also in topics, because if you don't care about politics, then politics will care for you. So I think it's also really important to have this in mind. And I also wanted to advertise our big summer school we will have in Berlin from the 6th to the 8th of June, and we will have Rachel Keke. I know you spoke about her, but we will have Rachel Keke, we have Özlem Demirel also from the European Parliament, and Mera 25 for Palestine evening. So we'll have a lot of cool stuff going on. So yeah, you can keep in touch. I think you can in your communication after that word send the link also to our internet site, and I will be really happy to meet also Timor there in Berlin from in the beginning of June. It's Les Insoumis sans frontières, so it's Insoumis without borders. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna. So if I should look for Insoumis sans frontières, where should it be? Like on Instagram or? I found the website. Yeah.
We are still in building because we are a left party, so we are still trying to do it a bit more beautiful, but it's already there, so you can already register, and we'll be more than happy to welcome you.
So guys, that's the website. So that's just there. So that's Insoumise Sans Frontières. And I guess from the website, you've got the social network as well, like social media.
Yeah, I think we have Instagram. But as I said, we are now in the buildings. So, but you can register, I think, and we'll have also a lot of things doing with our.
So that's Insoumise Sans Frontières.
Hosting by Berlin Insoumise, so it was right. Yeah, it's.
I'm just gonna show. So that's, if people want to see, that's also the Instagram, Insoumise Sans Frontières, just there. And then you've got Berlin Insoumise, which is your local group. That's for French people from LFI organizing in Berlin.
We are welcoming also German people. We are not that's secret.
You even have a subject.
No, but we've got the same in London, because sometimes we communicate in French and people are a bit like, sorry, like should I come in or should I not come in? And I guess that's why I guess that's why it's good to have like a media that's not actually like labeled as LFI like we're doing with ToTheLeft, so that we can sort of like have those discussions, but like, with different parties and not just like one party like that. Is there anything else you wanted to advertise, Asma, or?
No, I think my conclusion was long enough. Sorry, Timor.
It's okay. It's okay. Timor, I'm gonna, if you want to start talking, I'll pull up RS21 website so people can see.
I mean, about Die Linke, just one more thing is that I think what Die Linke has shown us is like there was really a lot of reason for despair politically in all European societies, I think, in the last 2 years at least. But I think all German political parties have overestimated the extent to which the Die Linke is actually to which German society is actually becoming increasingly far right, right? And I think Die Linke's electoral success as the only party that didn't play into this and didn't try to repeat the rhetoric of the far right shows us that maybe our societies isn't as broken as they seemed. But one important thing that the leftists in Germany to do that are interested in Die Linke is fight for a strong and firm anti-imperialist line, the politics of compromise with social chauvinists and the people who want to maybe, from a left perspective, increase military budgets and support Israel and etc. need to be over. Right, we can't have that anymore, and now we have a chance to change that. And yeah, that's my point on Die Linke. I also have to advertise for everyone who's in Britain. That is RS21. It's a cool pluralist, Marxist, eco-socialist, and feminist organization. And we also have something called the Festival of the Oppressed coming up. If you Google it, called Festival of the Oppressed, after a Lenin quote. It's on the 21st and 22nd of exactly. 21st and 22nd of June in London. It's going to be really fun. There's going to be lots of interesting speakers, but there's also going to be party and workshop. And yeah, our full program will come out soon. But if you want to come, you're more than welcome to, and it's going to be really fun.
Man, it's really accessible. It's £30, guys. That's like 35 euros. It's quite good.
Well, you can even get the unwaged one for £5.
Yes, I have to say, like, that's no brainer. Okay, so RS21, so that's the website, repsoc21.uk. You've got the Instagram, rs21.org. And what else? Oh yes, I just wanted to add. So Timor sent me some media if you want to follow. If you guys want to follow a bit more on German news. So he told me actually you can. So this one is a website written in German, but you can just Google Translate and you can see already a lot of stuff. You can read already a lot of things. So that's akweb.de. And in terms of English language website, you've got the leftberlin.com, and of course you've got a website that we mentioned earlier. You've got Jacobin, which is in different languages, but you can find them like this.
The German Jacobin that you can auto translate if you want to read like left-wing news on Germany.
And you can. Okay, so you've got the Jacobin in English talking about Germany, and you've got the Jacobin in German talking about Germany that you can auto-translate. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming on. We just 8:32, so we're gonna end now. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, both of you guys. And yeah, Timor, I'll see you in the office pretty soon. And Asma,
we'll
hopefully see you in Berlin. Yes, exactly. Yeah. A little train. Cool. Take care, guys. Yeah. Yo, bye-bye. Thank you for coming on the
stream. Timor. Bye.
Bye-bye.